guys, it's Quails, and if you guys didn't notice, back in February of 2022, I started a webcomic called Aster and the Dead God, and it was like a fantasy adventure type story, and I didn't complete it. No. This isn't gonna be an apology video or anything to my comic enjoyers. I don't quit that easy. But I did make a shit ton of mistakes during its creation, and I wanted to talk about them if you were in the mood to start a project like this too, and how I plan on fixing my fuck-ups, because I think it's one thing to make mistakes, but planning on them and working around them for the future is my goal here. So to recap on my comic update that I already posted, I was in art school at the time, and I started developing a really bad mentality when it came to creating art. I felt like every artist has been there, but art school definitely didn't help, as I saw every doodle as like a deadline, or how every little sketch was turned into a concept art project, and it was not good. So after a while, I had like all this weird pent up art energy, and I had nowhere to put them because it didn't really fit in my art school assignments, so I decided to start a webcomic purely out of passion. No harsh deadlines or anything, and I had that for a while, but then my anxiety and work ethic started creeping in the same way, and my webcomic just became another deadline, which, I'm gonna be honest, was very painful. I thought this was gonna be the one art project I was able to like find comfort in, but it just became another problem. So mental health issues aside, I didn't want to go on like that. So I took breaks, I tried to write from where I left off, I got compliments and feedback from friends, but nothing seemed to work, and I'm still too stubborn to let the story die, and I wanted to make younger me proud, so I decided that I'm going to rewrite it. And here's what I'm going to do differently, for my sake and yours if you want to start too, by the way. So besides the headaches, one of the things I've learned from art school was this phrase, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Which is brutal, I know, but I was studying animation, and I thought I had planned enough for this project, but I obviously didn't. I had a broad outline and a list of things I wanted to happen. However, I didn't really have the writing skills or the brain cells to really piece them together, so when I look back, it kind of looked like a half-cooked mess of ideas that didn't really sink into each other. You know when you put your favorite things in a sandwich and it still tastes weird? Kind of like that? I don't know, maybe I'm just bad at making sandwiches, but my point is, planning your story is like 90% of the battle. And I failed. Well, okay, maybe not failed, but I was barely passing. So since then, I was taking like short courses on writing, reading some books about world building, and watched a lot of YouTube videos. Like my suggestions for a while was 90% about writing it. Anyways, now you just grab a story structure you think would best fit your story and divide that up as much as you can between acts, chapters, and pages. You make a list of things you want to happen and shove that into the structure as best as you can until it makes sense. And it's done, and that sounds basic, and I know it is, because I still failed miserably, but that's what I'm gonna change now. It's all just going to be planned as much as possible. So, yay. Okay, world building is hard, but it could also be soft. So there's a difference between hard world building and soft world building. So hard world building, from my understanding, are worlds where the story is about the entirety. So think of like Lord of the Rings, where they explain the magic system and the character lineage and the languages and the cities and etc. to the audience, and then the characters are kind of just tossed in there to deal with it. And they try. Soft world building, however, is mostly relied on the character's organic relation to their own world. So I think Hell's Moving Castle movie, we don't know anything about how the characters gain abilities, or why the house is a giant mess, or how the cities are constructed, and we don't really need to know that until it affects the characters. And I think the problem I made with my story is that I tried to do both, which I know is possible, but I think my story would be a lot more impactful if it was more about the people and less about the world they're in, especially because the moral of the story is ideally supposed to be more personal and individual, so we're making it soft. Keep in mind that the big story of the world building is still going to be there, but it's going to be told more organically instead of just shoving it into the audience faces. Now, I love my characters, okay? But they were flat. I love them, but flat they were. Luckily, while reading a book called Bring Your Fiction to Life, she outlined a very interesting character setup. So imagine a chart of your character's past, present, and future self. It also includes like their traits, their relationships, their skill set, mindset, and anything else in between at that time. And you just fill that sucker up, and from there you're able to plan the development for the story. I always had my protagonists be foils for each other, yet still wanting to reach the same goal. And I thought the way I did it was handled extremely basic, because it's very like, oh, it's the good thing to do, which is super boring to watch. And with these new additions and exercises, I got to add a couple of things and explain some things, and as I'm rewriting them now, I love them even more than they were before. And of course, they're still going to have hiccups, but it helped me a lot see them more as people making their own story rather than plopping them into mine, which are the types of stories I love. So, now they are actual people, and I'm so sad that I have to admit how badly I fucked that up, but this is the whole point of this video, okay? Mapping. I didn't have a map, and I knew it would help with the structure, and it would also help with some perspectives, but I've tried a lot of things things, okay guys? I found generators online. I tried the rice thing where you kind of just throw rice onto a piece of paper and then draw a map around them. I tried the dice thing where each number can be its own natural landmark and to form like world structures and stuff, but I know what works for me, okay? Listen, you find a good mod pack, you put on a podcast while you build, you take screenshots, there you go. I will not be elaborating any further. Now, this is gonna kill me when I admit this. I did not make character sheets. Okay, listen, I know I literally went to art school. I didn't understand how important they were until I was already kind of giving up. But make a character sheet, okay? Include things like their main personality traits, any bags that they own, how many things they can hold in their pockets, different hairstyles and outfits. It would save you so much more time than me having to constantly look back at the past pages, have them on a folder on your desktop while you work, or print them manually and look at them. Don't be a dumbass like me who thought, oh, I draw them all the time, I don't need one. 'Cause you will. I swear to God. So when it comes to comics, they are kind of a fun medium because you can be as detailed or as broad as you can with them. They're not like animation where you need them to be a certain model in order to like use in a program, but they are also drawn pretty consistently, so you don't want it to make it too intricate because there are illustrated stories, yet you're the one hand-holding the audience here, so picking an art style that you're comfortable with drawing consistently is the key. If you were like me and you didn't really have one for the longest time, go and read some comics or manga and draft some pages in a similar style. Take notes of the things you like drawing in each. For this one comic, I really like how they drew textures. For this other comic, I really love how they drew fabrics. And with this other comic, I really love how they did panel control. And being able to Frankenstein an art style you like from other things you like is how I did it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you drawing something overly detailed is gonna be hard, or if you want to make it too simple, it's going to look boring. I want you to draw what you want and then improve from there. Simple as that. Because I plan to rewrite this story in its entirety, that should eliminate the problems I used to have before where I felt like everything was just a big stupid game of telephone. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. So I plan to write the whole thing, draft chapters into pages, and chop those pages up into a neat, realistic schedule, okay? Because I've made so many of those pages by now, I understand how long it takes for me to go from a rough draft to inking to exporting. So I recommend also timing yourself per page or per chapter and work on a schedule around that. One upload a week or month is better than nothing. So try your best because your audience is going to be very understanding about it. Or they better be. Alright, so you came to the wrong person, but sure, I wanted this to initially just be black and white. I threw that out the window somewhere along the way, but I want to go back, so it's going to be white, black, and gray. Color scheming stresses me out, and you know, I'm gonna put a stop to that now. No one is making me do this. If I wanted to take the easy way out, I would have just stopped the webcomic and moved on, but God knows, I still want to make comics. But also looking back at my old work, and besides cringing, I do see the love and the thought poured into this. I don't want to see this story as anything less than a passion project, even if that means having to redo it. But, you know, time will go by anyway, so I might as well have a webcomic under my belt. I hope you guys enjoyed this little ramble speed paint, you know, and thank you for holding me accountable because I'm going to document a lot of the process on my YouTube channel now. So good luck on your future projects, and I'll see you next week!